Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. My name is DaReal, and we are here with some NBA 2K Mobile, and a brand new screen time theme has officially dropped inside the game. So we're going to be doing an in-depth guide to prepare you for this week's event, and I'm going to tell you what gems you should try to get on your squad, who you want to craft, and what players you want to grind for in these events. So let's get into it, right? The first card is Juan Gomez. If you don't recognize him, this is Bo Cruz from the movie Hustle. Definitely a great movie. You should check that out on Netflix. Looking at his stats though, right off the beginning, you notice he doesn't have any fives. So that means there's a lot of areas of opportunity that you can use to boost up with gears and mentors. If you're going to try to bring up stats for Juan Gomez, you could try to bring up his defending and his playmaking and then boost up any of the other stats. Next up, we got Boban, who is craftable, which is one collectible. He has a 5 in rebounding, so you can boost up a lot of stats for him. You can start with playmaking, defending, post scoring, and mid-range shot. That way he could be like a pick and pop player. But for the most part, Boban is just mainly there for your squad for rebounds and defense. Next is Dell of Strength. He is also craftable. This is a gem. Definitely a card you don't want to sleep on. A really good small forward and one of the best shooters back in the days. He's got a 5-inch shoot-off dribble, mid-range shooting, 3-point shot. You can try bringing up his defending, which is at a 4, playmaking, which is at a 4, agility, which is at a 3, and layups and dunks, which is at a 4. We got Doc Rivers, who's also craftable. He's got a 5 in playmaking. You could try to bring up his mid-range, his 3-point shot, which are both at a 4, and his layups and dunks, which is at a 3. And if you could, bring up his defending up to a 5. Then we got Jalen Rose kicking off the Topaz tier. This is a pretty good card, another gem in my opinion. If you didn't get him from the Journeyman theme, it's definitely somebody that is really good, solid gameplay. I featured him in Worth the Hype as well. He's got 5 in agility, shoot-off dribble, mid-range shooting, 3-point shot, and playmaking. You can boost up his layups and dunks and his defending. We got a Bill Walton, which is another player that I featured early in the season. He was featured as one of the Obsidian rewards. He's got a 5 in strength, a 5 in rebounding, a 5 in post scoring, so those are really solid stats. You can bring up his defending and his playmaking along with his mid-range shooting and layups and dunks. Next we got Vince Carter, half man, half amazing. Featured him in a courtside pass review for last month. Vince Sanity is definitely a great card, and there were some comments saying that he's a bit slow, so you want to make sure you boost up his agility and his playmaking. The combination of both will help with his speed, and I did show gameplay in that video to show examples of how dynamic Vince Carter could be, especially when slashing to the rim. He's got a 5 in layups and dunks, shoot-off dribble, mid-range shooting, and agility already, so there's a lot of potential to boost up his weaker stats, like 3-point shots only a 4, playmakers a 4, defenders a 4, so you can bring those up easily. Vince Carter is one of the best small forwards in the game. Then we got Chris Paul, definitely a gem. He is craftable with 6 collectibles, 5 in shoot-off dribble, 5 in mid-range shooting, 5 in 3-point shot, 5 in playmaking, and a 5 in defending. So he's really good for a point guard position. You could bring up his layups and dunks. Right now, he's sitting at a 2, and then just boost up his other strengths. We got Kevin Garnett, the big ticket, one of the best power forwards in the game, and my personal favorite. He's got a 5 in mid-range shooting, strength, rebounding, defending, and post scoring. This guy is a beast, right? Inside and out. You can try to boost up his playmaking and his agility, and then bring up his layups and dunks. Next is John Sally. He's craftable as well. He's kicking off the Pearl tier. John Sally doesn't have any 5s either, so you could try boosting up his stronger stats, which is layups and dunks, rebounding, and defending. And if you could, bring up the playmaking as well. Next card, craftable, is Kenny Smith. But Kenny can't get the NY unless the Knicks win tonight. So we're going to call him Ken Smith for this video. He's got a 5 in shoot-off dribble, mid-range shooting, 3-point shot, and playmaking. He's actually a pretty good card. The defense is a 4, so you could bring that up. And you can also bring up his layups and dunks. Next is Anthony Edwards, a player who got his stats recently increased. And he just recently had a card not too long ago that was really good. So if you didn't mess out on that card, this Pearl card could get the job done for you in head-to-head. Anthony Edwards got a lot of stats increase, so he is one of the top shooting guards in the game. He's got a 5 in shoot-off dribble, layups and dunks, mid-range shooting, 3-point shot, agility. You can boost up his playmaking, you can boost up his defending, and then bring up his other stronger stats. Here goes another card, Muggsy Bogues. You might have seen him in Space Jam. Muggsy Bogues is a tricky card to use, right? He is decent, but because of his height, He does fall at a disadvantage when going up against players like Ben Simmons, LaMelo Ball, Luka, and Magic Johnson. So bear that in mind. Use him more so as a playmaker because he is a really good playmaker. And if he has an open shot, he can make them, right? Because he has a 5 in mid-range and a 4 and 3-point shot. He already has a 5 in agility and playmaking, so that makes him pretty good for your squad. Focus on maxing out the mid-range shooting. Maybe bring up the shoot-off dribble. But layups and dunks will be tricky because most of the centers will be able to block his shots. Next is Chris Middleton, Obsidian tier as well. 5 in shoot-off dribble, 5 in mid-range shooting, 5 in 3-point shot. You can try to bring up his playmaking and defending, which are both at a 4. Now we got Patrick Ewing, Knicks Nation stand up. He is craftable as well, Obsidian tier, which means he can still be useful on your squad. He has a 5 in mid-range, post scoring, strength, rebounding, and defending. He is a bit slow, I gotta admit that. So you gotta boost up a combination of agility and playmaking for him. And if you got some points left over, you could bring up his layups and dunks. Next is Rick Fox, who is craftable. It's nice to see a new Rick Fox card in the game. He doesn't have any 5s, but he's got some well-rounded stats. You could bring up shoot-off dribble, layups and dunks, mid-range, 3-point shot, and playmaking and defending. Mark Jackson, another Nick in there. He has a 5 in shoot-off dribble, mid-range shooting, 3-point shot, playmaking, and agility. A lot of good stats. You can bring up his defending, and you can try to boost up his layups and dunks. Now we got one of the cards who I think is the biggest gem in this theme, Ultimate Sleeper. And if you played and used them in Season 2, then you know the deal already. Penny Hardaway is the truth inside this game. One of the most explosive shooting guards, sweet jump shot, incredible handles. Penny Hardaway is everything that you want in a shooting guard. He's got a 5 in shoot-off dribble, layups, dunks, mid-range shooting, along with agility and playmaking, right? Really good card. And then the rest of the stats are pretty much a 4, so there's so much room for potentially bringing up his stats up to a 6 or even maxing them out. So you can bring up his 3-point shot, you can bring up his playmaking, that way in his layups and dunks, and he's gonna go crazy. I'm telling you, very good card. Don't sleep on this Penny. Grind the overtime event to at least get Penny Hardaway in the squad. Next is Larry Johnson, another sleeper power forward. He's got a 5 in mid-range shooting. If you look at the rest of the stats, they are strong, including that 5 in strength, but he's got a 4 in post scoring, a 4 in 3-point shot, a 4 layups and dunks. Those are really good stats for a power forward, so you can easily boost those up as well with the right gear and mentor. And this card is craftable too. Next is Ray Allen. Ray Allen is one of the best shooters inside the game. We know that already. He has a 5 in mid-range and 3-point shot. He also has a 5 in shoot-off dribble, so he can create offensive opportunities for himself. You can boost up his defending, his playmaking, and his layups and dunks. Next is Dr. J. Now, this is a very, very good small forward. One of the top small forwards in the game. He's right in the elite tier for sure, right? You got LeBron, Dr. J, Larry Bird, Dominique Wilkins. Those are like the top tier along with Kevin Durant. Those are 5 of the top small forwards in the game. You can also throw Kawhi Leonard in there as well. Dr. J is one of the top on the list. He's got a 5 in layups and dunks, mid-range shooting, agility, strength, playmaking, and defending. And everything else is a 4, so you can have so much fun with his build and really customize him to your liking. Next is Amari Stoudemire, who I think is a good power forward as well, just a bit slow, right? He's one of those players that can definitely use a boost in playmaking. Aside from that though, he's got a 5 in agility, strength, rebounding, layups and dunks, and mid-range shooting and post scoring. So he is a beast down low. You can try to bring up his mid-range and his playmaking and boost up his defending. He's also craftable. And we got Will Chamberlain. This is a card you don't see often. Definitely a beast, right? A very powerful center and very similar to Shaquille O'Neal, right? It's not a center that you're going to look at shooting jump shots with. Everything else, he's extremely dominant. 5 in strength, rebounding, defending, post scoring. Just boost up his layups and dunks and bring up his playmaking a bit and he'll go crazy. And last but not least, rest in peace always for the Black Mamba. We got Kobe Bryant. We got a plasma quartz Kobe Bryant. Top tier shooting guard as well. He has a 5 in shoot-off dribble, layups and dunks, mid-range, 3-point shot, agility, and defending. Now, the difference between him and Jordan is that Jordan has the 5 in playmaking and the 4 in 3-point shot. So that's the only difference between these two GOATs. So if you're going to work on building out Kobe, just boost up his playmaking. Kobe is a little bit slower than Jordan, but he can definitely get to the rim if you boost up his layups and dunks as well. And everything else you can just stat pad if you have the right shoes and the right mentors. Now, as far as the set, Kobe Bryant is the set reward. In order to get the Kobe on your squad, you need to be able to craft Larry Johnson, Penny Hardaway, Patrick Ewing, John Sally, and Boban. And for the upcoming event, this is the announcement right there. Lights, camera, action. New theme is players that appeared in movies, TV shows, commercials, or NBA broadcasts. There's only one event this week, and it is the overtime event. Amari Stoudemire is the final reward. That's the hardcore leaderboard. And then the other rewards is going to be Dr. J, Penny Hardaway, and Muggsy Bogues. Now, the cool thing about it as well is that these cards can be used in next week's event and get extra style point bonus. So that's a W right there for sure. Now, OT, tough event. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, because it's all about keeping that win streak alive. And you got to rank on the leaderboard as well, right? That's a whole nother dynamic as well. Now, if you don't want to grind the hardcore leaderboard and just grind the normal route, the rewards are very good and you're not going to miss out much, because Dr. J, top tier player, Penny Hardaway, top tier player as well, and their powers are almost as good as the Plasma Quartz. You still can use those players in head-to-head and dominate, and you can use them in the tourneys as well, including the Plasma Quartz tourneys. So it can help you get some more players to upgrade future theme cards. But if you do want to go for the hardcore leaderboard, you got to have a few players on your squad, and let's go into it. So you still want to be able to get style points for grinding those matchups, right? So it's very important to have a good point guard that can get you the style points, who can hit spot up threes. That's the name of the game in overtime. You gotta have a point guard who can hit spot up threes easily, or who can efficiently run pick and roll. Point guards I think you should try to use for this overtime event will be the courtside pass Damian Lillard, since his power is still pretty high. LaMelo Ball, if you can unlock him early. If you want to get an idea of LaMelo Ball, if he's worth the hype, I featured him in my most recent video where we unlocked the courtside pass and we showed you gameplay of LaMelo Ball, also along with some recommendations on how to build them out. Now, if you want to use players from the screen time theme, I think Chris Paul is somebody that will be good for you, along with Kenny Smith. Those are two very strong three-point shooters who can hit the spot up threes, and they're both craftable. So it gives you some options. If you grinded the mini event early in the week, you should already have 3 collectibles. Now, Doc Rivers has potential, but you got to build him out. He only has a 4 and 3-point shot. You're going to have to raise up and potentially max out his 3-point shot. And that might be a little difficult. And I don't have enough experience using Doc Rivers to confidently say he can get those buckets for you. Unlike this gentleman right here, Stephen Curry. So if you do have the playoff Stephen Curry, or if you have the Rainmaker Stephen Curry, both of those cards will get the job done for you. And if you're able to max out some of the older Stephen Currys, like the All-Star Stephen Curry, or if you have the New Year's 2023 Stephen Curry, or the All NBA Teams Curry, all of these cards, when maxed out, they're high enough to still compete in the overtime event. And honestly, even the underdog Stephen Curry from season 4, when maxed out, his power still could be decent for your squad. Now, you need a small forward who can easily roll to the rim for a dunk, or who can be a good playmaker. So you could use courtside pass Vince Carter as well. That way you still get the style bonus. There's also Vince Carter inside the screen time thing that you can use. Jalen Rose will be really good to use as well. And if you recently grinded for the playoffs LeBron James, this will be a great card to use as well. And any other LeBron James that you might have in your squad. There's a lot of LeBrons that came out this season. There was a Lunar New Year LeBron that's really good too. And there's also an all NBA LeBron that could be helpful as well. See, and there's also the All-Star LeBron. So you can see them all here. The Fear the Beer LeBron will be just as good. And that's the all NBA LeBron. Now, if you got the courtside pass from last season, there's a Dark Matter LeBron James that is also very helpful for your squad. And guess what? You'll get the 10% star bonus. And then last but not least, you need a center who's also good on a pick and roll. So somebody who can dunk the ball. You need a center that can be reliable in the paint. Either they can hit a mid-range jump shot, or they can jam the rock. So we got a courtside pass, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who can get that done for you. If you're going to get somebody from the screen time, Will Chamberlain can do that. Patrick Ewing can do that as well, and Bill Walton. And if you just grinded the recent events for the playoffs team, Jokic is pretty reliable, Evan Mobley as well, and Joel Embiid. And then my personal favorite choice to use is Shaquille O'Neal. Now, if you got the Journeyman Shaq, you're in great shape. You can also use the Rim Rocker Shaquille O'Neal and be in great shape because this power goes up pretty high as well. If you're going to use lower tier players, you got to make sure their power is really high and comparable to the highest tiers right now. That's the only way lower tier players are going to help you in the overtime event. You're going to be paired up with teams that are close to your My Team power. And let's be real, there are times they're going to be higher as well. So that was our breakdown for this week's event along with a overtime guide. Told you I was going to be a jam-packed video. Be sure to check out the other releases we got this week. We got our screen time pack opening video. We'll also be doing a video for the pick or roll. There's also definitely some videos you can check out after this. As always, I appreciate the support. I will catch everybody on the next one. Peace out.